In Parshas Terumah, the Torah talks about the Binyan HaMishkan. The Torah gives us the dimensions for the different kelim in the Mishkan. The Torah starts off with the Aron. It says that the Aron will be 2.5 amos by an amma and a half, by an amma and a half. Goes on to talk about the shulchan, the menorah, many different items that were present in the Mishkan. So Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Yuma that there's symbolism in the different parts of the Mishkan. It refers to the 3 crowns. Rabbi Yochanan says there are 3 zarim, there are 3 crowns. The Mizbeach has a crown, the Aron has a crown, and the Shulchan had a crown. The Mizbeach's crown represents the crown of Kahuna, which Aron a Kohen took. They're the Kohanim. The crown of the Shulchan represents the crown of Malchus, which David HaMelech and his family took. And then there's the Aron. The crown is Munach Kol Rotz Ligach Yavo V'Yikach. The crown is available for whoever wants to take it. And that's the crown of Torah. Lest you say that that's a smaller crown than the other 2, B'Malachim Yimlochu, says the Gemara. That in fact this is the greatest of crowns, is the crown of Torah. And Hashem let the crown of Kahuna and the crown of Malchus be taken, but the crown of Torah is the great crown that remains for all of Klal Yisrael for the taking. Whoever wants can come and be Osik B'Torah and be Zochet to Torah. That's what the Medrash says. That's what the Pasuk says. By all the other Kelim, the Torah says the Asisa. And by the Aron, it says the Asu Aron, like a language of plural. And Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shalom explains, Hashem says, let everyone come and be Osik in the Aron, in order that everyone can come and be Zochet to Torah. So there's a symbolism, the Aron, of the accessibility of Torah. There's symbolism in the Badim, the Badei Aron, the supporters of Torah, symbolizes the supporters of Torah financially. And there's many ideas in this symbolism. Just want to focus on 1 or 2 of them. So the Pasuk, as we mentioned, says that the dimensions of the Aron were 2.5, 1.5, and 1.5. As opposed to the Mizbeach, they were all whole numbers. These are all... Why are the numbers of the Aron all mixed numbers? So Rabbeinu Bachaya says, because it represents the humility of a Talmid Chacham. The Aron represents a Talmid Chacham who's made himself totally submerged in Torah. And a Talmid Chacham is supposed to be humble. He has to have a certain brokenness in his heart, not like a brokenness in the sense of feeling like a broken person, but there's a certain person knowing that he's not everything. There's a certain healthy sense of humility. The Baal HaTurim says the same vart. The Kli Yakar says it a little bit different. And Rav Hamaner, Shmuel Hamaner points out that there is this idea of a person has to humble himself. He has to be willing to break apart his arrogance a little bit in order to learn Torah Lishma with the proper Yiras Shamayim. Kli Yakar says a vart that they're broken because there's this idea that a person's supposed to view his relationship with Torah that he's always lacking, that there's always more to learn. That, a person's always trying to grow and learn more and more in Torah if he's a wise person. So a person's relationship with Torah should always be that sense of, I'm not complete. I have more than I want to accomplish. As opposed to, he contrasts it to the Shulchan, where it represents, maybe the idea of eating and physicality, and that we want it to feel complete. So this idea of the importance of humility for a Talmid Chacham. And for those who've met great people, we see that if it is a hallmark of a great person, is that he tends to cover up his greatness, that there's a certain humility in a person who's seen the depth and profundity and beauty of Torah, and as much as he's learned it, he knows how much more he has to go. Another idea in the Aron is that it was basically made, it sounds like it was made up of 3 boxes, that there was a shittim wood box in the middle, and then there was an outer box of gold and an inner box of gold. It was covered on the inside and outside with gold. So the the Gemara, the Medrash, I'll start with the Medrash. The Medrash says, why is there wood in the middle? If you have gold on the inside and the outside, just make the whole thing one solid piece of gold. Is because, he says, without a Yetzer Hara, there's no Shevach for a Talmid Chacham. The praise of a Talmid Chacham is that he's conquered his Yetzer Hara and he's become a great person despite the challenges in achieving greatness. And so that wood in the middle represents the Yetzer Hara. That's the sign of greatness, is to overcome the Yetzer Hara. So that's a symbolism. And the Aron is this idea of a person overcoming his challenges to achieve his greatness in Torah. The greater a person becomes, the greater his challenges to even out the Bechira playing field. And the more a person has to push and overcome. And the Talmid Chacham really represents someone who's really had to push himself, even if a person is a genius, but they still, in order to become a real Talmid Chacham, and not just somebody who knows a lot, requires a lot of amelis b'Torah, requires a lot of difficult work. Similarly, Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Yuma in Beis and Beis, Rava says, why is it covered on the inside and outside with gold? He says, Kol Talmid Chacham shein tocho kiboro eino Talmid Chacham. A Talmid Chacham whose inside is not like his outside is not a Talmid Chacham. I saw brought down the Aruch HaShulchan warns that this is referring to Yiras Shamayim, that if a person has learned a lot of Torah, but it hasn't inculcated Yiras Shamayim into him, that he's not a Talmid Chacham. It's an interesting language. You could say he's not a tzaddik. What does it mean he's not a Talmid Chacham? But he knows Shas and Poskim, he can answer my questions, but he's not a real Talmid Chacham, I guess, in the sense that he hasn't been transformed by the Torah, he hasn't internalized the Torah. If a person learns Torah and becomes a Talmid Chacham, and someone who exemplifies Torah, the Torah should be transformative to him. Torah has that power when a person is Amel B'Torah. I once heard my father had a Rebbe named Rav Izbi Zatzal. It was a Rosh Kollel, I believe, in Ger, in Eretz Yisrael, and he was a Rebbe in Or Sameach. I remember one of these people who was Kulo Torah, also a tremendous honor. I remember coming to his house, somebody who I know has all the Torah on his fingertips, and he's coming and opening the door for me and setting up the chairs and the table. But I remember his son telling me, he says, my father taught Or Sameach for many years, and he says, when he's the ones who have seen real transformation, it's only somebody who's Omel in Torah Shabbat Peh. It's through the Ameos in Torah Shabbat Peh. Person can become religious, but to really change their essence requires this relationship with the Torah. To me, the idea of Ein Tochel Keboro, I would take it on the surface level, that it means a person's midos, meaning a person becomes learned in Torah, but he hasn't refined his midos. His inside is not a pure Lishma Dika person, then he's not a real Talmid Chacham. He doesn't really exemplify what the Torah represents. Just throw in one idea that speaks to me, I think I mentioned it before, of how the Torah transforms the person. There's a beautiful piece in the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Daled, where he talks about Talmud Torah, Perek Yud, and he's coming to address the mindset. Some people feel that the learning Torah Lishma is about concentrating on our love for Hashem and our Devekas to Hashem, and that's the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, is that emotional connection to Hashem. And he says, Ameos B'Torah connects us to Hashem more than even saying Tehillim and feeling about our relationship with Hashem. We need both, but there's something unique about Ameos B'Torah, because he says, the Torah and Hashem is one. The whole Torah is Shemos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whenever we're involved in Torah, whenever we get into the kishkas of Torah, we're plunging into the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself in a way that there's no other way to tap into. This is how I understand it, that when we learn Torah, when we're Amel B'Torah, when we invest ourselves wholeheartedly into the depths of the Torah, then we connect with the Torah in a way that's transformative, because we're connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence in a way that we don't have any other way to connect to it. And when a person does that properly, and when they have that drive that they want to transform themselves into a person who's Tochel Kabaro, who learns Torah Lishma, and who has Yiras Shamayim, and has good midos, and Mitzvah Hashem, the Torah can transform a person into a great person, into a Talmid Chacham, the proper humility, with the proper mindset, and build us into the type of people that we all want to be. May Hashem give us the Siyata D'Shmaya and help us connect to Torah, find paths to connect to Torah, and grow and become the great people we have the potential to become. Have a wonderful Shabbos.